Have you ever noticed how the people who seem quiet, humble, or even weak often end up achieving more, avoiding conflict, and navigating life with ease? It feels counterintuitive, right? We're taught to be bold, loud, and assertive, to fight for every inch of ground. But what if the real power comes from doing the opposite, from restraint, from silence, from appearing weaker than you are? Sun Tzu said it over 2,000 years ago. Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. It wasn't a suggestion for deceit. It was a strategy rooted in understanding human perception, in controlling how others interpret your strength and intentions. And this strategy isn't just for generals on battlefields. It applies to your relationships, your career, your social life, and even your inner peace. Carl Jung adds another layer to this idea. Jung spent his life studying the psyche, the parts of ourselves we hide, and the unconscious dynamics that govern human behavior. He didn't talk in military metaphors, but he pointed out something striking. Our power often lies in what we don't show. In Psychological Types, he explains that people who understand themselves, who integrate their shadow, are often perceived differently, not necessarily louder or more aggressive, but more grounded, more deliberate, more untouchable. This is because when you own your darkness, your aggression, your fear, and your desires, you no longer leak signals of vulnerability. You are whole, and the world cannot manipulate what it cannot read. Let me give you an example. Abraham Lincoln, one of the most strategic political figures in history, was known for his humility, his quiet demeanor, and his tendency to listen more than he spoke. Many contemporaries underestimated him at first. They saw a lanky, soft-spoken man who seemed cautious, even indecisive. But beneath that calm, unassuming exterior was a mind carefully observing, analyzing, and waiting for the right moment to act. That apparent weakness was, in truth, his greatest strength. It allowed him to navigate some of the most turbulent years in American history with a combination of patience, empathy, and strategic timing. This is not about pretending to be weak or manipulative for its own sake. It's about strategic invisibility, understanding that how you present yourself changes how the world responds to you. When you appear weaker than you are, you create space to move, to act, and to influence outcomes without triggering defensiveness or hostility. You conserve energy, you observe, you choose the right moment to act, instead of reacting to every provocation. Jung calls this part of the shadow integration. When you deny your capacity for aggression, ambition, or power, others perceive that emptiness and unconsciously fill it with their own will. They push, they dominate, they test. But when you recognize and own these aspects of yourself, you don't have to display them constantly. They exist inside you, unshakable, ready to be deployed at the right time. That internal balance creates what some call psychological invisibility. People can't read you, and that unpredictability is powerful. Let's make this practical. There are 3 key steps to harnessing this hidden power in your daily life. The first is emotional control. The next time someone tries to provoke you, pause, breathe, don't respond immediately. Observe. Your silence is not weakness, it's information. Every reaction you withhold is a statement that you are not easily manipulated. Emotional restraint allows you to see motives clearly, and it prevents you from projecting your own fears and insecurities. The second step is strategic restraint in your actions. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every argument requires your participation. By holding back and waiting for the optimal moment to act, you amplify the impact of your choices. Consider the tortoise in Aesop's fable. Slow, steady, and seemingly vulnerable, the tortoise wins because it doesn't expend energy in futile bursts. Its apparent slowness masks consistency, planning, and foresight, the very qualities that lead to victory. The third step is calculated vulnerability. This might sound contradictory, but it's essential. To appear weak effectively, you must understand the balance between what you reveal and what you conceal. Vulnerability draws trust, lowers defenses, and encourages openness, but it must be genuine and deliberate. Jung often discussed the interplay between consciousness and the unconscious. Revealing too much of your unintegrated self creates unpredictability in others' perception. When you reveal selectively, you guide how others interpret your intentions, creating influence without aggression. Here's a real-world example that many people can relate to. I once spoke with a friend who worked in a highly competitive corporate environment. She was quiet, often underestimated, and rarely volunteered opinions in meetings. Colleagues sometimes dismissed her, thinking she lacked confidence or experience. But behind the scenes, she was meticulously preparing, learning the full scope of projects, and understanding the dynamics of power within her team. When she finally presented her ideas, she did so with clarity, timing, and authority. The same people who had overlooked her suddenly treated her with respect, almost in awe. Her apparent weakness had masked her preparation and insight, giving her a strategic advantage. This principle doesn't just apply to careers, it applies to relationships. Think of the dynamics between a calm, grounded partner and someone impulsive and reactive. The calm partner appears to take less space, but in reality, they hold the emotional and psychological upper hand. They respond deliberately rather than reacting, guiding the interaction in subtle ways. This is power disguised as weakness. The deeper lesson here is paradoxical. Strength does not always need to be displayed. True strength often lies in what you choose not to show, in your restraint, your patience, and your ability to observe. Sun Tzu's advice about appearing weak is timeless because it speaks to human psychology. People respond to perception more than reality. When you understand that, you stop trying to prove yourself constantly and instead harness your energy for decisive, impactful action. Now, let's translate this into actionable takeaways for your own life. Step 1. Practice measured silence. Notice the moments when you feel compelled to react. Pause. Let your words be fewer but more deliberate. Step 2. Cultivate inner awareness of your strengths, fears, and impulses. Journaling, meditation, or self-reflection are tools to integrate your shadow, allowing you to wield your power invisibly. Step 3. Develop patience as a weapon. Not everything needs immediate resolution. The right timing can make your influence exponentially stronger. Imagine a chess player who moves deliberately. Every piece is positioned carefully, even if the board seems inactive to the casual observer. The apparent passivity is the strategy. The real control is hidden. This is exactly what appearing weak achieves. It misleads others into underestimating you while you accumulate knowledge, influence, and readiness to act at the right moment. When you combine emotional control, strategic restraint, and calculated vulnerability, you achieve something extraordinary. You become invincible in ways that are not flashy, not aggressive, but profoundly effective. People no longer push your buttons. They cannot easily manipulate your responses. They misread your intentions. Your quiet presence becomes your armor. And the most empowering part, this doesn't require arrogance, force, or ruthlessness. It requires self-knowledge, discipline, and insight, qualities that Jung emphasized throughout his work. True power is invisible because it originates internally, not externally. It's about the mastery of self, not the domination of others.